What it is, everybody? It's your boy back with another reaction video. And now we'll be reacting to, what is this? 3 disturbing true scary stories. I believe this is from Mr. Nightmare. So I'll put a link in the description down below so you can go check out his channel. We're gonna show him some love, like, comment, subscribe, all that goodness. Anyway, I'm not gonna talk a bunch, so let's just get into this. God damn it. Okay. Alright, here we go. I thought that said John
I live in
Cusack.
a small, peaceful town. I don't live in a place where you have to worry about walking alone at night. I share a one-story
That's what
house
you
with my
think.
sister, but she's hardly ever home.
Should always
She
be
has another
cautious.
place in Florida that she
I don't
spends
give a
most
damn
of
if
her
you live
time.
in Mayberry.
There's about 100 to 200 feet between each house on my block, and then there's some woods across the street. I have a daily routine. I get home from work, make dinner,
That'd be a
shower,
nice
relax
run
a little, then
in
go
this-
for a run,
this
come
street.
back and have a light snack, then go to
He
bed.
just said go for a
It
run.
was a work night like any other. I was going for my nightly run, and when I came back to my house, there was a random white van parked across the street. I took notice of it because hardly ever would random cars park on any of these streets. Our little neighborhood has very little through traffic. I looked at it as I walked backwards to my front door, and I could tell there was someone sitting inside of it, though I couldn't see anything regarding what they were doing.
They
don't know if the glass was tinted or if it
planning
was just
on
because it was
fucking you
dark
up.
out.
That's what they doing.
Later that night, I was hearing some weird sounds coming from outside. It was like a scraping sound. I looked out my window and called out, "Hello?" and it stopped. I had no idea what it could be, but my first guess was the neighbor doing something in his yard. I went back to whatever I was doing, and
At
that
night?
was the night. The following day was a Friday, the last day in my work week. After work, I did proceed with my regular schedule. I went on my nightly run a little earlier tonight since it was Friday and I had plans with some friends. I got back from my run, imagining the van to be there again, but it wasn't this time. I went out with my friends to a comedy club, and I didn't get back until late. I let myself into the house and locked the door. It was a long night and I was feeling tired, so I hurried up with the getting ready for bed process. After turning off the bedside light in my room and laying down, that's when things were finally silent enough for me to pick up on some weird thumping and rustling sounds. I felt like they were coming from inside of the walls. It's only a 2-bedroom house, it's not big. I put my ear up to one of the walls, and indeed heard something going on in there. I knocked on the wall and the noises
in the
stopped.
walls.
This was a cause for concern, as I assumed it was a rodent or a wild raccoon.
Well,
I went out to the
that's
living
true.
room, and passing by the windows,
Probably
I
more
looked
likely be
outside
that.
and saw that white van parked outside again. I opened my front door and stepped out to the front stoop to look at the van. I didn't see anyone sitting in it this time. 2 nights in a row,
Stay in your house,
something was going on. I walked barefoot to the side of my house to look for possible holes in the walls for animals to crawl through. Then I came to the outside crawl space door. It was cracked open, and the lock was snapped off. I hadn't paid attention to this door in weeks. I pulled it open a little more, and without a phone or flashlight in my hands, all I could do was lean inside and squint my eyes in the pitch blackness of the crawl space.
Squint your eyes. What do you think you are, a
The
cat?
faintest little sounds of pebbles scraping against the concrete floor. At first, my naive mind was thinking it was an animal.
Yeah,
The
let me
sounds
stick my
turned more
fucking head in
aggressive
it.
and more closely resembled human footsteps marching to the crawl space door. And then, just barely, I could see a person crouch walking towards me. I slammed the door and twisted the knob, but without a lock, it wouldn't do anything. I ran back inside my house and called the police. While on the phone, I instantly attributed the crawl space door to the scraping sounds I heard the night before. The next time I went to the window while on the phone, the van in the street was gone. Police came and I showed them the crawl space. We had to use flashlights as the crawl space doesn't have any lights installed. We found something disturbing. In the left corner, there were cut marks in the roof of the crawl space, as if the intruder was trying to saw his way into the house. The only info I could give them was the white van parked in front of the house. We don't have cameras, nor did I see what he or she even looked like. They never came back though. I'd imagine because I caught on to what was probably supposed to be a silent operation.
But if they hear you in the house, why would they still try to get in the house?
My family has a
This doesn't
summer
sound
home in
very
Arapahoe
silent.
National Forest of Colorado. It's a 7-hour drive from my home. I don't often go with my parents or siblings, if ever. I go alone for the purpose of hunting and detoxing. I've probably been up there a total of 40 times in my life. The last time I went was a few months ago, but I don't really like going alone anymore. Here's why. It was 2017. I just pulled my truck up the old dirt road onto the grass of the property. There's no real driveway, we just park wherever on the grass really. The house isn't huge, it's modest but nice for a vacation home. I parked up next to the front deck. This was in the dead of summer, but the breeze there was still nice and cool. I let myself into the house using the keypad lock. We don't use physical keys in fear of losing or forgetting them. I was the first one there in quite some time, so I had to turn on the electricity and water heater. In the meantime, I unpacked and
You'd
ate the
think
lunch I
that'd be
brought
more
with me.
secure.
I also threw away any mouse and bug traps that were left out that caught mice and bugs. It's actually quite a problem in the house. After all of this was done, I started setting up my hunting gear, which my dad and I leave in a big back closet. By this point, the sun was on its way down. It was around 6 o'clock. Laughter from outside caught my attention. I marched from the kitchen to the living room to look out the big
Fuck the
window that
Joker
looked into the
outside or
woods.
something?
I looked into the woods and I didn't see anyone, so I cranked the heavy window open and listened. The laughter belonged to multiple children, like a small group. This was our property though. That meant these kids were trespassing, probably up to no good.
Means that I can shoot them.
I went outside through the back door to the woods, trying to follow the laughter. I kept going deeper into the woods, and the laughter stayed the same distance away from me, though. Eventually, I gave up because it seemed like the kids were running away anyway. The next day, while posted up in the tower that my dad built for deer hunting in the woods, I heard the sound of those kids laughing again. Noting that meant they were once again on our property, I decided to call my dad and ask what to do. He told me to chase them off the property if I saw them, so I shot around into the air. I forfeited any game for the sole purpose of chasing the kids away, but it worked, of course. The sound of the laughing stopped right away. I knew now it would be pointless staying posted up in the tower, so I called it for the day and went back to the house. I wasn't feeling too well anyway. That night I
He
slept with
gonna
all the
shoot at
windows
us?
open to
Alright,
get some air circulating and maybe help me with my headache. Then he came back. The sounds of the children. At this crazy hour, it had to be past like 11 at this point.
Damn it.
I climbed up the bed to look out the window. Of course, it was too dark out there. I had enough now, though. I grabbed my Winchester from the closet and a flashlight as well.
Had
I didn't
enough.
have intentions of shooting kids, just scaring them off with a round or two. I went out the back door
Just
towards the woods
grazing
again,
them a little bit.
where the laughter was coming from. The laughter was louder than any other time before now. Like, it seemed like they were 20 meters away at most. I yelled in a strong, commanding voice to get off my land. I scanned the woods with my flashlight. It wasn't a very powerful one, though.
Get off my land, you
Then
damn
every muscle in
hippers.
my body basically went limp when the volume of the laughter went from 30 to 100 in a matter of half a second. Then something landed on the ground next to me. It was an old-looking speaker.
Oh,
The sounds of kids laughing
gonna
was
be a
blasting through
head.
it. I picked it up and threw it back in the woods, then aimed the light back in the woods. At one point, I'm still not sure.
How
of it,
you
though.
out there in the woods
I
when
thought I
it's
saw a
pitch
person
black
standing at the edge of my life.
and you don't have a
I
strong
aimed my
flashlight?
Winchester into the air and fired, then yelled a threat, like, come any closer, the next round goes through your skull. I then ran back inside the back door and locked it. I closed
It'd be
every
funny
curtain.
that dude
I
shot his
considered calling the
ass.
sheriff's department, but all the way up here, any police call would take at least half an hour to an hour. I was better off fleeing altogether. As I packed my bag, I heard a smudge on the living room window. I waited a few minutes in an idle position before.
That's what
slightly
happened when you
moving the
live way
curtains.
out there. You like, I want to be
Revealed
away from
something
people.
written in blood on the
I
glass.
mean, you need help.
I
You're
didn't
right.
take the time
Ain't
to
nobody
read.
there to help you.
I finished packing my bag, took my gun, took a deep breath, and went outside.
Like, you got guns.
I locked the door with the code as
protected,
quickly
right?
as possible, then ran for the car as if my life depended on it. I turned the car on and put it in drive before it had time to finish with those startup beeps. I spoke with my dad on the way home. He told me I was right to leave.
Except he's
Staying
in the
house
back
wasn't
seat.
worth my life. I stayed at a nearby motel that night, and my dad came the next day. I met him at the house. Whatever was written on that window in blood was wiped completely off. The house wasn't broken into, and we couldn't find the speaker type thing that was thrown at me.
Should have
I
kept
stayed a
it.
couple nights, then went home. I don't know who was out there or why they were targeting me. I really hope that blood was animal blood, though.
Nah, it was human blood. It was from circumcision.
I was home alone one weekend, house to myself. I had a couple friends over the first night, and I stayed up pretty late both nights. I was 14 at the time, just started high school, and my parents had just started trusting me enough to leave the house to myself. This was on a Saturday night. I was out with a couple friends pretty late. When we all decided to call it a night, I walked home by myself. Halfway through my walk home, I noticed a car seemed to be following me. So I started to jog home, and the car started flashing its lights. At this hour of the night, I could only assume potential danger, so I turned my jog into a full-fledged run. I ran all the way to my house.
I mean, me when I was 14, I
windows.
was out jogging at night.
Moments later, the car from outside parked in front of the house, and someone came out from the car.
I didn't want anybody to see how
started
horrible
running
my
up to the front
cardio
door.
was, especially
I
at
started
that
panicking.
age.
The doorbell started to ring, and they started pounding on the door aggressively. I suddenly felt like my life was being threatened. I ran to my room, which is on the lower level of the house by the backyard. I tried to get my parents on the phone, but they wouldn't answer. They were definitely asleep.
Nah, they weren't asleep. They were just looking like,
scared to death.
Fucking
Now the
kid.
intense knocking moved to my
Just
window
decline
instead of
the
the front
call.
door. I screamed at them to go away, and they yelled something back, but it was muffled. I left my room to hide in my parents' room and call the police. I made a phone call explaining that I was followed home and someone was trying to break into my house.
It was muffled. He was like,
at my parents'
so you think
as if they
darkness
somehow
is
knew
your
which room I was going to every time. I screamed, "Go away!" The 911 dispatcher told me not to do that and to keep quiet and stay hidden. But the person banging
shut
on the
up.
glass started yelling through the closed window, and now I could hear more clearly what he was saying. He yelled there was a person in my house. Then he yelled someone followed me home and might be inside my house. Ignoring the 911 dispatcher,
They're in the back
I went to the
seat.
window and asked in a loud voice so he could hear me, "What are you talking about?" He yelled at me to call the police and stay locked inside of a room because someone followed me home and went to our backyard. I told the dispatcher exactly what the man yelled to me. She said don't trust him just yet and to stay in a locked room until the police
Well,
would arrive at
the
my
person
front
didn't
door.
say, let me in.
I
He
didn't
said,
know whether the things the man was saying were true or not.
he just said, lock your
Not
door.
until hearing
Somebody might
footsteps
be in your
outside
house.
my parents' bedroom near the living room. The footsteps clonked down the wooden floor of the bedroom hallway. I heard each door in the hall being opened until they got to my parents' bedroom door. The doorknob twisted, but since it was locked, obviously the door couldn't be pushed open. I hid in the closet as the person on the other side of the door started trying to most likely kick the door down, as all I heard were loud bangs. Eventually the bangs stopped. I imagine they gave up. I didn't hear footsteps walking away, but probably because I was in the closet. I was still on the line with the dispatcher. She told me police were outside, to which I suggested the police try entering through the back, as that was apparently the point of entry most likely. They were able to enter through the front door though, as apparently the intruder left through the front. The back door was left ajar after the intruder smashed the glass panel on the door, allowing him to reach in and unlock it. I met the police in the living room. The man who was outside banging on the windows was also there. He told this whole story that as I was walking home, he saw some older man crouching in bush after bush, following me in a manner that conveyed he meant harm. He followed me all the way to my house, as a matter of fact. That's why the guy in the car was following me, as well as flashing his lights. I called my mom, who picked up on the third
Dude
try.
in the car
I
was
didn't want to call my dad
like,
because I
hey,
was scared of how angry
this is
he
somebody
would be.
trying to rape you.
I spoke with my mom on speakerphone.
I'm
the
just
police listening
assuming.
and contributing
I mean, what else
reassuring
could he
words to
want?
my mom. The police dropped me off at a friend's house that night to sleep there. And my parents started driving home that night and got home early the next morning. A police officer parked outside our house for a few hours before driving off. Nothing was stolen at all to our knowledge. And if the intruder didn't break in to rob us, that means he really was just after me. And he came after me in my own house.
He wanted that booty. He was like, he said, he saw you running. He said, oh, he got nice gluteus maximus. He said, I want that shit. Damn, freak. When he said Home Alone, I thought, I said, oh, you gonna have a Home Alone moment. You gonna set up a bunch of traps, and it's gonna be, hilarity is gonna ensue, and then the police are gonna come and arrest them. But like, no, this almost turned into a rape, most likely. Cause like like that guy came in there, like you said, he came in there for him. They ain't coming to steal nothing. They followed him home, and they trying to kick the door in for his ass, which I'm surprised they didn't. I mean, kicking a door down is not easy. I've done that once before in a friend of my house. She had locked the door to it wasn't her bedroom. It was like to a spare room she had, and somehow she locked the door. Well, I say somehow she locked the door from the inside, and then ended up closing it. And she said she wasn't thinking. She just accidentally did it. And I guess she called. She called. So who's like I guess the biggest person that she knew. It's like, hey, can you? First she's like, can I like pick the lock? And it didn't even have like a lock on it, which was it was like one of those doorknobs where it's just a hole on the opposite side. I don't know. You can pick that or not. I don't know. It's like I can't pick that lock, and because she seen I picked a lock once with her, and with like with a I had a because I got a lock pick kit, and it was it was just a damn it a padlock, and I had lost the key to the lock, so I picked the lock to open. What the fuck was that locked? I think it was like a small locker I had, and it was a small locker I had in my house at the time, and I didn't, and I lost the key. I found the key later on, but I couldn't find it. I need to get something out of there, so I just said, well, maybe I could pick the lock without going to uh going to the manager because I know they had like deadbolt cutters and bolt cutters, and I remember going over there and I was just like so I can't pick this lock or anything like that. So I was like, kick the door down, maybe. I said, I don't know, because those doors, like, they were all the same doors in the house. I said, well, if this door is the same as your door on your bedroom, it's a flimsy, like cheap motel type door. So I remember sitting there, and I couldn't back up far because it was like a stairway and like a banister, and so it was only probably maybe about 4 feet from the door to the banister. So I didn't have a whole lot of room. So I just was like, I kind of just using like my leg power, just kick it. I kicked that thing. I don't know, like I don't know. I kicked it a bunch, and it finally broke. The door broke. Now, the good thing was I don't know what kind of lock that was, but the only thing that broke was the lock to the doorknob. So she replaced because she was like, "Oh fuck it, I just replaced the lock." Because she like gotta get in that room because she had stuff in that room. Plus, I think she said she left the window open because she was cleaning up in there, and she just and had the window open, and she didn't have any screens on any of her windows. So, uh, you open a window and you can just fucking climb through. There's no screen, and I was like, which I always think is dumb. I don't know why people have. I could see maybe on if you have like a 2, 3 story house and they on the second and third floor and you don't have any screens, maybe. But on the first floor, well, with hers on the second floor, so I give her that. But still, like I would, me personally, I want screens on all my windows because motherfuckers can climb. So, but yeah, that's scary. Like, whenever I run at night, because I still try to run even with my knee, my bad knee. But I am I want my big ass anyway. But I still be looking. If I see people, I try to see people following me. I remember one time I was running down the street, and it was like a car. It was like slowly following me. I couldn't see what kind of car it was because of the headlights, and I and I finally just like I was like, what the fuck? Like, as I stopped and like was looking at him, like, am I gonna do? Because I had my knife on me because I usually carry my knife on me. So I was a little bit. I felt a little bit more uh safe And when the car got up over fire, I saw it was a damn police officer. And I guess he said like he tried to stop me, but I just kept running. But I had my earphones in. And I was like, oh, he was just then he just kind of made smile. I've been stopped like a few times by police, right? Because I have a tendency to dress in all black and run, and they see me run, so they're like, was he running for like at midnight or 1 in the morning? So he was just like, oh, he tried to stop you back there. I said, oh, so you're just creeping on me because he was just slowly creeping like on me. I guess I was like, what the, until I finally stopped. To see who the fuck is this like behind me. I'm not taking up in the road. I'm like, even if I was, he could easily go into a lane, go around me. And he just, oh, I just, he just trying to see, what was going on or what I was doing or something like that. And I was like, you could clearly see my face. I'm like drenched in sweat, and I got my earphones in. So he was like, oh, I'm just running. So he's all right. He said, well, you have a good night, and then he just run on down the road. But yeah, you gotta be careful of these pedophiles. And trying to rape people, or just people just trying to rape adults too. Like, be careful. Alright, but anyway, hope you enjoyed my reaction one. If you did, make sure to hit that thumbs up button down below. Make sure to subscribe if you're new here. Hit that bell. You'll be notified when I upload new videos. Comment down below. Share this video. See y'all next time. Peace.